My name's Kathleen Neal. I'm a lecturer in medieval history at Monash University in Australia, and I'm also responsible there for coordinating all the sessional teaching staff and helping them learn the ropes, as it were. My research specialty is in 13th century English and increasingly European government and diplomacy. And I also, incidentally, used to be a neuroscientist, and I have a PhD in that as well. Look, the humanities are always under pressure, and one way that we can respond to that, I think, is by engaging with outside audiences more actively. And the reason for doing this, it seems to me, is quite clear. Outside audiences don't necessarily understand what we do or why it matters, and therefore we come under pressure from government, economic pressure, policy pressure, and so forth. And so, as historians, for example, we can counter that by educating the public about what we do. And so I think in some respects our obligation to engage outside audiences has actually increased. Interdisciplinarity is increasingly desired and also incentivised, I think, among the historical community and perhaps in the humanities generally. For example, Monash University is now giving grants to try and encourage collaboration between the faculties of arts and engineering, which you might not naturally think are partners, but it's encouraging people to find ways of connecting. There are some challenges inherent in collaboration, despite the fact that I think it's such a great thing. It's true that it only really works, or it's only as effective as it can be, if all the parties actually understand in advance what it means to collaborate and the terms on which you're doing it. So co-writing a book or a chapter, for example, can be extremely challenging if all the parties contributing have quite different ideas about what it is that they're expected to contribute and the process that you're going to undertake to achieve it. We can maximise the reach of our work to new audiences, both academic and non-academic, in lots of interesting ways. And some of those are old tech, and some of them make use of new technologies like internet, for example. So in my own work, I use, for instance, blogging, partly as a work in progress tool for myself, just to work through ideas and so forth, but also to engage with a wider audience, some of whom might be academics or in particular postgraduate students around the world, but also just interested people who happen to have a fascination for the 13th century, which is my key area that I focus on. But also I do things like public lectures, for instance, popular publication as well as academic publication. And I think if we use a range of these kinds of approaches, not all of which are suitable for everyone's personal, not only preferences perhaps, but also aptitude, then we can expand as a discipline the kinds of audiences that we're reaching. Popular medievalism has definitely impacted the type of student who comes to our class and the number of students who come to our classes and the engagement that they bring with them. And we see, for example, a lot of people referencing Game of Thrones when we ask them, what made you take this class? That's fine, I don't mind that at all, as long as they're then able to develop a sense of the fantasy Middle Ages versus the historical Middle Ages and the relationship between them. The key is to think about audience, think about what do they know already, where do you want them to get to, and then you can plot a strategy for getting from A to B. And that's the same whether it's a public audience or an academic one.